Hello there everybody, it's Krauss and Natsuhi, and welcome back to Umineko. As you can probably tell by the length of this video, it should be, I don't know, 2 hours maybe? But, a couple things before we get started. One of you guys did tell me that the next part is going to be pretty short, so I alluded some time, and we're going to make this a two-parter, sort of. Kind of like a special, because apparently after these next two parts, we will be entering the final part of episode 3. And the same guy, you did tell me that the final part's going to be maybe about 3 hours, which of course I will do, of course, in one big sitting. And I would not have enough time, obviously, to add in the tea party, so we have ourselves quite a few, I think, 3 more episodes of Umineko right now. Also, a sort of a bad news, the announcement. February 28th, YouTube is going to get rid of fan funding. Yeah. So, that thing we were kind of... we voted for it. Don't even get to have it. Not that long at all. Just completely get rid of it. What does this mean? Well, besides a lot of other channels being screwed over, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people actually... Okay, it should be obvious, there are some people who try to make YouTube their job. I'm no exception. I do this as sort of a hobby, but I don't know. I would like to keep doing this. But like I said, some people live off of fan funding, and YouTube's getting rid of it and replacing it with something, I don't know, some thing called Super Chat. I don't know the details, but basically, February 28th, fan funding is done. Just gone. Gone completely. So, what I'm thinking... I don't know how we're going to do this, because I'm not going to go on Patreon, because that would... I don't know if I should go on Patreon, because that would be like asking you guys to do monthly payments, and I don't even know what kind of rewards I would even do, honestly. So we'll just have to find some way to do fan support. I don't know what we would do, but I don't know. Steady progress on the gaming computer it's going pretty fine. I'll give you now we're up to $560 right now. So I think that's pretty good so far. We're almost halfway there. I think that's pretty much it. But I'll try to think of something that we can do. Because I know you guys voted for the fan funding. And I don't know. I just don't know. We'll figure something out. Anyway. Let's jump right back in. My throat's a little groggy, I'll admit. 30 minutes had already passed since Rudolph's group had left the guest house. By any measure, their return was too late, and Krauss and Natsuhi, who were waiting by the entrance, were reaching the limits of their patience. The chain was set on the door. That was a precaution in the event that Rudolph's group was attacked, and the master key stolen from them. Smart. For that reason, they needed to wait by the entrance like this for the others to return.
さすがに遅すぎます。彼らの身に何かあったのでは。
Krauss glanced between his watch and the door, struggling to keep his composure.
もし彼らが戻らないようなことがあるならば。
辛い想像だが、その覚悟を始めた方が良さそうだ。やはり不用心だったんだ。
Yes.
私はそうだと申し上げました。なぜ彼らはこれほどの危険を承知で外に。愚かなことです。ローザさんが襲われたばかりだというのに、なぜに外へ。
それを言っても始まらん。とにかくこれでゲストハウスに大人は3人。私と夏希、そして高熱で寝込んでいるエヴァだけだ。
At that time, there was the forceful sound from the hallway of a door being opened, and they heard Ava's panicked voice. That voice kept calling Hideyoshi's name. It seemed as though, while down with a high fever, she had had a bad dream or something, and was calling for her husband's name.
Eva-san, どうしましたか? 大丈夫ですか?
Oh.
うちの人はどこ? うちの人がいないの. ずっと一緒にいるって約束してくれたのに. ずっと手を握ってくれてるって約束したのに.
Krauss was struck dumb by this attitude.
落ち着いて。秀吉さんはルドルフさんたちと一緒に今表へ出ています。表へ？どうして私とずっと一緒にいてくれるって約束したのに、どうして表になんか行ってるの？表へ出てはダメ。表には魔女がいるわ。行ってはダメ。殺されてしまう。
Jesus, Ava. Did she just...
エヴァ、落ち着きなさい。秀吉さんはルドルフたちと一緒に屋敷へ戻っているのだ。
どうして屋敷に行かなくちゃいけないのよ。ここなら安全なのに、どうして表になんか出したのよ。どうして屋敷なんかに戻ったのよ。
明日までの食料を取りに行くことになったのだ。
Not the smartest decision.
秀吉さんはお前の体調が悪いことを気にしてて、そのためにもと言って。
いつ戻ってくるの？いつ戻ってくるのよ。表はダメよ。バラ庭園はダメ。屋敷はダメ。魔女がいる。黄金の魔女が歩き回ってる。見つかったら殺されてしまう。絶対に殺されてしまう。ああ、うちの人はいつ戻ってくるの。
Oh yeah, she's losing it, but then again, I don't blame her.
30分前にここを出ました。私たちは帰りを待っています。30分？そんなのおかしいじゃない。屋敷に行って食料を取って帰ってくるのに、どうしてそんなに時間がかかるのよ。それであんたたちはなんでここでぼんやりしてるのよ。迎えに行かなきゃ。早くあの人のところへ行かなきゃ。
Jesus. Ava probably had quite a nightmare, and because it had continued even after she had woken up, she could no longer hide her confusion. Natsuhi tried calming her down, but all it did was make Ava's emotions explode even more. Maybe it was because they had heard that disturbance. Valor and the kids, who should have gone up to the second floor, were peeking their faces through the slightly open lobby door. Krauss, Natsuhi, Ava. Then Valor, George, Jessica, Nanjo. Everyone in the guest house was gathered by the entrance and understood the current situation.
母さんの意見に同感だよ。父さんたちの様子を確かめに行くべきだ。まあ、そうだな。荷物が大きくなって手間取ってる可能性だってあるぜ。人手は歓迎のはずさ。
ローザさんが襲われてすぐですぞ。二次遭難の可能性もあります。
Yeah, go ahead and just say that. Just say that out loud, Nanjo. But then again, I'm pretty sure everybody's thinking it on their minds right
ここ
now.
は一つ慎重に。
バカを言わないで。慎重に何よ。助けを求めてるかもしれない主人を見殺しにしろというの。私が様子を見に行くわ。臆病者はここで待っていなさい。
Looking agitated, Ava raised her gun. Judging by her features, it would be useless for anyone to try and stop her. George, who realized that first, raised his head.
僕も行こう。バトラ君も来るだろう。
Of course.
人数が多い方がいい。
Well, this individual has proven that they're capable of taking down multiple people by themselves. So, again, thinking as a human theory, then again,
エヴァおばさん、来るなって言ったってついてくぜ。
私も行くよ。私だけ安全なところに隠れてなんかいられないぜ。ジェシカは出てはなりません。ここに私といるのです。 良いですね。
It was like they were implying that those three had already been killed anyway, so it was pointless to go outside. Natsuhi also realized that Ava felt like her heart had been gouged out, but she said that strongly as Jessica's mother.
そうね。それがいいでしょうね。兄さんたち一家はゲストハウスで留守番してて。これはうちの家族とバトラ君の家族の問題よ。
Right.
あと南條先生も来てもらえるかしら。万が一のこともあるかもしれないから。
Oh boy, this is going to be fun.
Batora, Eva, George, 南條の4人は屋敷のホールにて。
System. No. Not that one. Configuration. There we go.
ルドルフ、キリエ、秀吉の3人の遺体を発見。
Oh, and I immediately hear that. Okay, let's check it out. Died in the hall of the mansion, his forehead pierced by a stake-shaped weapon. From here on, a stake must be the finishing blow. How vulgar. Died in the hall of the mansion, her stomach pierced by a stake-shaped weapon. The stomach isn't a very lethal spot. Is it okay to kill in a different way and stick this stake in the corpse? And then Hideyoshi. Died in the hall of the mansion, his chest pierced by a stake-shaped weapon. How careless. He was still living.
第4から第6の番ってことか。
Okay, now we're back to this battler.
なら死体には、額、胸、腹にそれぞれ、例の悪魔の杭が。
はい。ルドルフの額に1本。秀吉の胸に1本。そしてキリエの腹部に1本、悪魔の杭が打ち込まれています。3人には争ったか、あるいは逃げ回るかしたと思われる着衣の乱れがあります。
That's a different detail. The clothing on all three was disordered? I don't remember that being a specific detail that was in the previous murders. I don't remember that being a specific detail.
3人の遺体は寄り添ってはおらず、犯人と遭遇後、ある程度の抵抗を試みたと推定されます。
杭で、額と胸と腹を、とか相変わらず、無芸。
Ronove? Even though Ronove knew it would be superfluous, he thought that maybe he should tell Battler. What? In actuality, the witch had killed them in a much more... Oh. Battler didn't see what happened, did he? The witch had killed them in a much more horrible way. Beato had advised the witch to restrain herself, which is why the corpse had been left in this manner. The new witch, thinking that it would fit as long as she gouged with a stake, would probably have just stuck a stake into a lump of meat that wasn't even shaped like a human. Rosa and Maria's corpses were probably especially striking. If they had been killed as the Golden Witch had wished, just how gruesome would the exposed corpse have been? Beato had changed that into the still better kind of killing Battler had spoken of. And wanting to have Beato's small bit of thoughtfulness appreciated, he thought of telling Battler about that. But in Battler's eyes, that might do more harm than good. To humans, the gap between being alive and being dead is very large. While saying that she had changed it to a better way of dying, and that he wanted Battler to understand Beato's feelings, might have made it possible for a demon to pardon her. There was no way it would work the same way for a human. Understanding this, Ronove remained silent even though he knew of Beato's modest effort.
いつも通り、死体の死亡確認からさせてもらうぜ。ロノウェ、赤で宣言を頼む。
Ronove?
おい、聞こえないのか？赤で宣言を頼む。副賞要求だ。 ルドルフ、キリエ、秀吉の3名は死亡している。
申し訳ございません。副将を拒否させていただきます。
What?
なんだと？
Why?
いきなり、どういうつもりだ？
By now, proclaiming that the victims were dead in red was almost a given in this battle. Refusing to do that was almost like losing by default. So when Ronove refused as part of his first move, Balor was dumbfounded.
申し訳ございません。私めのお嬢様の代行者である資格をこれをもって返上させていただきます。よって私にはそれを赤で復唱することができません。それを復唱する資格があるのはお嬢様ただ一人だけでございます。
正しい言い分です。ロノウェはベアト側の代行者でしかありません。ロノウェが代行の役を負り、かつバトラ君がベアトを相手として認めないならば、新しい代行者を立てる必要があります。
A new agent must be created?
新しき代行者はおりません。
Oh.
どうかバトラ様、お嬢様を再び対局の相手とお認めください。
悪いが、そいつは聞けねえ相談だぜ。あの不愉快な残酷野郎、俺は絶対に対局者だなどと認めない。それを認めないために、俺はこのゲームを降りないんだ。
不愉快な点につきましては、お嬢様に代わりまして謝罪します。また、お嬢様には二度と不愉快な言動を取らぬよう制約させます。
どうだかな。
バトラ君、あの子の師匠として私も謝罪します。よく言って聞かせますので、どうか一度だけ許してやってはくれませんか？
Balor's incredibly stubborn. I don't think he will.
おいおい、よしてくれよ。まるで俺が悪者みてえだぜ。
No, I mean...
それに、あんたらにいくら謝罪の言葉を聞かされても、俺の耳には届かない。そいつを、ベアトが自分の口で言えるってんなら、まあ、耳を貸さねえこともないぜ。
わかりました。それがあの子を再び認めてもらう唯一の条件ならば、あの子に謝罪をさせましょう。ロノウェ、あの子を呼びなさい。よろしいですね、バトラ君。
Oh, another thing one of you guys did kind of bring up is that Vergilia and Ronove are kind of... Yeah, I kind of see what you guys are saying. They're acting sort of like Beato's parents, kind of. I can see that sort of dynamic. I do like it.
好きにしろよ。だが、俺が許すと期待するな。呼べよ。あのムカつく魔女。
ありがとうございます、バトラ様。ただいま、お呼びいたします。お嬢様、バトラ様がお呼びでございます。
Now, how is she gonna handle this? After a few heartbeats, gold butterflies gathered together in midair and created Beato's form. It was much more docile than the way she had appeared before now.
呼んだか、ロノウェ。
話は聞いていたはずですよ。あなたの口から何か言うことはありますか？
Come on, Beato. Come on. It looked as though Beato shrunk slightly under Battler's cold gaze. Several times Beato made an effort to get the words out of her mouth, but that didn't work so well. And she was just as awkward as someone trying to light a match during a freezing winter with frozen hands. Even as she did that, the game board was proceeding. In the hall, they had just found the corpses of the new victims and had broken down crying.
Oyaji! Kirie-san! しっかりして。僕だって悔しい、悲しい。
おそらく即死だったでしょう。たとえ彼らが倒れた直後に我々がここに訪れたとしても、きっと手遅れだったに違いありません。
いいえ、違うわ。きっと生きてたわよ。胸にこんなものを刺されて、うちの人はもがき苦しみながら死んでいったに違いないのよ。もっと早く来ていればきっと助かった、きっと助かったのよ。
I think this is literally the episode where Ava, this Ava has like, just, oh, good lord. I've just felt so bad for her this whole time.
辛いだろうけど、しっかり。大丈夫だよ。大丈夫だぜ、兄貴。もうちょっとだけ泣かせてくれ。俺が一番マシなんだ。俺が一番悲しくないはずなんだ。だからもうちょっとだけ泣いたら大丈夫だから。そんなことないよ。両親を失った心の痛みはよくわかる。僕には母さんがまだいる。バトラ君よりはるかにマシだ。いや、違うぜ。ジョージの兄貴が一番辛いはずなんだ。分かってんだよ、兄貴。ジョージの兄貴が俺たちの中で一番悲しくて辛いんだ。俺はそれを分かってる。だからこれ以上メソメソなんて泣いちゃいけねえんだ。どうして僕の方が辛いなんて。俺にとっちゃ親父もキリエさんも成人して独り立ちしたらいつかは別れる人間さ。親である以上子供より先に知るのは宿命だ。それが少し早くなっちまっただけの話だぜ。だが兄貴は違うぜ。いつか別れる親だけじゃない。これからの人生をずっと一緒に生きていくはずのシャノンちゃんまで失ったんじゃないかよ。人の命に重さなんかねえさ。赤ん坊の命だって年寄りの命だって同じだがよ。それからの人生が長ければ長いほど、一緒に築いてく未来が長ければ長いほど、その死ってのは悲しいものなんじゃねえのかよ。兄貴はシャノンちゃんと婚約したんだろ。これからの人生と家庭を 一緒に気づいていこうって約束したんだろ。その未来のデカさが、幸せのデカさがよ、俺の痛みなんかとは比べ物にならねえ。だから兄貴はもっともっと泣いても許されるはずなんだ。なのに俺たちいとこの兄貴格だからって無理に冷静を装ってやめてよ、バトラ君。
George was trying to make a calm smile, but already he couldn't stop a single hot tear from leaving a streak down his face.
悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。僕はシャノンと一緒にたくさんの未来を思い描き合ったさ。きっと100年の人生では叶えきれないくらいの夢を語り合ったさ。その夢の一番最初の籍を入れることさえ叶えられなくて悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。それに比べたら俺なんかだから俺にはこれ以上泣く資格なんかねえんだ。兄貴だってこらえてるのに俺にこれ以上の涙を流す資格なんて。同じだよ。親しい人を失えば悲しいのは僕もバトラ君も同じだよ。だからバトラ君が僕より涙を流してはいけないなんてルールはない。そして僕だってもうこれ以上涙をこらえなければならないなんてルールもないんだもんね。兄貴未来を語り合ったシャノンが死んだ。父さんも死んだ。悲しいな。悲しいな。
You really gotta give credit to the voice actors. As Battler and George tightly hugged each other, they cried a waterfall of tears over each other's shoulders for those people important to them.
どうして俺がジョージの兄貴が一番辛いって言ったかわかるか？
聞いていたからわかる。その後の人生を共にする時間の長さに悲しみは比例すると。
もちろんそれだけじゃ測れねえけどな。俺たち人間はお前ら魔女とは違う。生きてから死ぬまでという有限の時間、その力の限り生きている。それをないがしろにする奴は許せない。ましてや嘲笑いもてあそぶような奴は絶対に許せない。お前のような死の概念もめちゃくちゃな奴には理解もできねえだろうがよ。これから生きる時間の長さだけじゃない、一生懸命に生きている奴の人生を嘲笑うこと、これが一番俺には許せねえんだ。ジョージの兄貴はがむしゃらに頑張って人生を生きてた。シャノンちゃんと結婚するために悲壮な覚悟をしてこの日に臨んでいたはずなんだ。俺みたいに久しぶりにいとこと会えるなんて浮かれてたやつとはわけが違う。
しかしだな。
ベアト、今は黙って聞きなさい。
お前の言い分にも一定の理解がする。お前には自分の復活のためにおかしな碑文に沿った殺人を続ける必要があるってんだろ。だからその範囲内でのお前の殺人はお前の立場の事情を汲み取る限りギリギリそれがお前にとっては必要な行為だからならそれ以上の不要な行為は全てお前の無意味な残酷趣味ということになる。つまり第一の晩に6人を殺すことまでがお前にとっての必要な行為なら顔を砕くとか腹を裂いてお菓子を詰め込むなんて真似は全て全く不必要なお前の残酷趣味だってことになる。俺はお前のこの点について断じて許すことができないんだ。
I won't blame you for that.
お前はローザおばさんがひどい殺され方を繰り返された時結局は最後には生き返らせるのだからどう殺したっていいじゃないかみたいなことを言ったそうだな。バルギリアに聞いてるぜ。
それはまあ
最後には生き返るなら何度殺してもいいという考えは命をもてあそぶだけの全く不必要な行為ではないのか。殺すなら人思いに殺せ。もてあそぶな。殺さないならいたぶるな。お前は人の命を自在に操れるのをいいことに命の尊厳を忘れてしまった。だから俺は認められないんだ。命の重みをそして失った時の悲しみを知らない奴を俺は対戦相手だと断じて認められない。
無限の魔法が邪法と言われるゆえにです。無限の魔女に有限の概念はない。壊す殺すという有限と終焉の概念がないのです。それゆえに無限の魔女は時に生と死の狭間をゴム跳びで遊ぶかのようにその行き来を遊び出すようになります。それはとてもとても恐ろしいことです。
He kind of saw that firsthand.
だから私はあなたの域まで達しなかったのです。
Virgilia had wanted to tell Beato that for a long time, but Beato had been too young to obediently listen to those words. She had been too wild. She had been possessed by that detestable pleasure.
壺を割ってはならぬと言われてきた。でもだからこそいつか割ってみたいと思っていた。そして無限の魔法を得ていくら壊しても好きなだけ元に直せると知った時わらな壺を壊すこれほどまでに楽しかったのかと驚いたものだ。
それを禁忌の蜜と呼びます。
And we can tell Ava Beatrice was going a little too crazy with that.
人はその中身に惹かれるのではない。それを封ずる錠前に惹かれるのです。実に嘆かわしいことです。
バルギリアに聞きたい。無限の魔法なんてものがどうしてあるんだ。それは何のためにこの世にあるんだ。
無限の魔法に限らず魔法はすべて人の世に幸福をもたらすために存在するのです。今さらバトラ君には信じがたいでしょうが私たち魔女は人の世に恵みを与えるために人と人ならざる者たちとの架け橋になるべく修行を重ねているのです。
死者を繰り返し蘇らせ何度もいじめ殺すことでどう人の世に役立つってんだ。
大切な形見の壺が割れてしまった時、それを直すことで誰もが笑顔を取り戻すならば、私は何度でも魔法にて直すでしょう。しかしそれは壊すために直すのではありません。
I see.
人に幸福を与えるために蘇らせるのです。
So endless magic is obviously okay. Originally, its intended purpose was to bring happiness, despite that it being a black art. But somewhere along the line, it just
だとしたら
someone got the desire to break the vase as many times as they wanted, just to enjoy the thrill of it, using the endless magic for the wrong purposes.
ベアト、お前は無限の魔女。失格だな。
Yeah, she does.
今俺は漠然と思ったことがある。どうして俺がお前とこんなおかしなゲームを延々と続けてるのか。これは俺を屈服させるためのゲームじゃない。お前が本当の意味で無限の魔女に認められるための試験ではないのかってな。
知らぬ。わらわがそなたにゲームを申し込んでいるのは単なる暇つぶしだ。誰の思惑でもないわ。
俺は今バルギリアからの魔女の定義を聞いた。それによるならばベアト、お前は魔女ですらない。その修行の途中で自らの力を誤解した見習いってことになる。
I guess by definition, yeah.
これは魔女と人間の戦いのはず。ならば魔女でないお前に俺の相手としての資格はない。わかるな。
わらわがまだ見習い風情だと申すか。ならばわらわはいつそなたの対戦相手だと再び認められるのか。いつこのゲームを再開できるというのか。
さあな。それは少なくとも今じゃない。お前が俺の言った話をちゃんと理解できて本当の魔女になった時、俺はお前を再びゲームの対戦相手だと認めるだろうよ。
そのような抽象的な言い方では分からぬ。
You gotta
どう
change
すれ
your
ばお前の
perspective.
許しを超えるのか、はっきりと聞かせよ。
いいや、これで十分だ。あとはお前が考えろ。俺が言いたいのは以上だ。理解ができないならバルギリアやロノウェに相談してみろ。お前みたいなガキンチョはまず大人の言葉に耳を傾けるところから始めやがる。バルギリア、ゲームは一度中断する。
Suspend the game.
ロノウェが代行を降りた以上、あとはベアトで対局者としてふさわしい資格を持つのを待つしかない。
What does this mean?
了解しました。ベアトがその資格を得たと認められるまでゲームを対局者不在のまま進行させます。
How is that going to work?
ベアトもそれでよろしいですね。
疲労はもう。わらわは時間がゆっくり考えられる場所が欲しい。これにて席を外してもよい。
ああ、いいぜ。
それではまた。
待てよ。そうしょぼくれた顔すんな。
それはすまぬ。 わらわは胸の内が全て顔に出る性分。偽れぬ。
なら、まだ構成の余地はあるってことだぜ。一つだけ約束する。俺はお前とのゲームに勝つかもしれないし、負けるお前が戻ってこなけりゃ不戦勝ってこともあるだろうよ。
Okay. At that point, Balor stopped talking for a second. Then he spoke forcefully.
しかし絶対に俺からは降りない。お前を不戦勝にだけは絶対にしない。お前が再び俺の好敵手としてそこに座るのに、俺はずっとここで待っているぞ。
バトラ様。
ありがとうな、バトラ。わらわはきっとそなたに認められて戻ってくるぞ。
After showing a hopeful smile for a very short while, Beato hid herself. Looking at that expression, Balor strongly believed that her face wasn't lying. Whoa. Damn. I should have mentioned this earlier. I definitely understand why you guys say that episode 3 is your favorite. I think when it concerns the questions portion. Damn. That was really good. The 7 survivors returned to the guest house once again. By now, it was clear that those who had gone outside would not be able to return alive. Rudolph's group had gone out holding 2 guns and 1 master key, but those had been lost. It was already clear that those had been stolen by the culprit. Because the shutters were closed on the windows, they wouldn't open even if the culprit had the master key. The front and back doors that led to the outside were all sealed by chains, and they were further blocked with sofas and tables. Even if the culprit decided to break in through violent means, it wouldn't be easy for them.
台風の今となってはむしろ幸いかもしれない。もしも晴れていたならゲストハウスに放火するという手もあり得たかもしれない。
そもそも台風でなかったなら午前中に船が来てた。それも不幸中の幸いと言えるかは微妙で。エヴァさん、体の具合はいかがですか？
She's probably hurting the most right now.
無理をされないようにしてください。
熱はまだ感じるけど、そんなこと言ってる場合じゃない。このためにも今は寝込んでる場合じゃない。
After crying so much in front of Hideyoshi's corpse, Eva had felt a strong self-awareness that she was a mother, and her expression conveyed a strong will. Actually, her fever still hadn't gone down, and she was aware of that. If she didn't keep a strong hold on herself, she felt as though the fever would make her mind hazy again. By this point, the first floor was a final line of defense made by Krauss, Natsuhi, and Eva. The children and the guest, Nanjo, had been strongly warned not to carelessly go downstairs. If the culprit used a ladder or something, it probably wouldn't be impossible for them to attack from the second floor. But it wouldn't be easy for them to break those sturdy shutters from such an insecure position. The second floor was safe compared to the first. Balor and George had hoped that they could also remain on the first floor, to fight in the worst-case scenario, but Eva had rejected that. In her mind, George was now the only member of her family. It seemed that she didn't even want to expose him to the danger of coming downstairs to the first floor. Krauss and Natsuhi could also understand that feeling. Well, it is nice to know that when the time calls for, it's nice to know that they are acting like protective parents. Since the siege began, a great deal of time had passed. In the second floor cousin's room, Balor, George, and Jessica were dazed, and didn't even listen to the TV that had been left on. For a while, Nanjo had been with them, and had tried to send them words of encouragement. But when he realized that he might actually be having the opposite effect, he hid himself in his own room on the same second floor. George kept looking dazedly at the photographs inserted in his notebook. It was from that time he had taken a vacation to Okinawa with Shannon. Shannon's happy smile was contained in those photographs. George could remember the temperature and the humidity, the warmth and the strength of the wind. And even what he had been talking about with her at that time, those photos had been taken as clearly as though it had been yesterday. So to George, they weren't simply photos, but a door to bring back warm memories. In this room, even though the sound of the typhoon and the TV should have entered George's hearing, it was the scenery of Okinawa he had seen with her, and her laughing voice that reached his eyes and his ears. George had strived to be reborn after meeting Shannon. He had sworn to separate himself from the timid person he had once been, easily caught up in the atmosphere, unable to refuse a request, and easily used by those around him. He had resolved himself to become a strong man who would make her life even more joyous. Therefore, if he hadn't met Shannon, the man called Ushirimiya George would probably have lived a very different life. I know this track, but it's very loud, and I know it's going to zone out. There. That should be satisfactory. And the George of that different life surely would have been as excellent a man as he is now. Even though I now exist for Shannon's sake. Even so, now that Shannon is gone, why do I exist? It's completely meaningless, isn't it? A deep, deep sadness as though he himself had become empty. That feeling should have tormented him the whole time. However, until Battler had told him, he hadn't been aware of the feeling himself. He finally remembered that he should have cried much, much more. So he cried, just like Battler had. He had cried himself dry. By now, his eyes were bright red and swollen, and he could not cry anymore. So George did his best to change his way of thinking. He was not meaningless now, and he should be grateful that Shannon had given him such a character. Dead lives are not revived. He would have to get over being separated from his most beloved person. If he were to chase after Shannon and kill himself, she would surely be deeply dejected. It worked the other way around, too. If he had died and Shannon had chased after him, throwing away her own life, he wouldn't have been able to forgive it himself. So he had chosen to surpass his emotions of sadness and anger, and had decided to thank her. He had met with Shannon, who had made his days rich and full, and who had taught him the meaning of working hard for other people's sakes. As a result, she had shaped him into the person he had admired. He thought he should thank her for that. By doing that, he tried to quell his sadness, but each time he did, he remembered Shannon's face. He understood the reasoning. Even though he understood that grieving any more than this would only make her grieve in heaven, he couldn't stop his sadness. Also, again, me...
なんで人が死ぬってのはよ、こんなに悲しいんだろうな。
Just gonna be bringing this up. The music in this is so good. Battler muttered. It was as though he was speaking on behalf of all humans. He probably hadn't been asking anyone, but Jessica answered.
別れはどんな形でもいつも悲しいさ。でもそれが例えば老いであるとか何かの時間であるとかあらかじめ約束されていていつか訪れる別れであると分かっているものは その悲しみを長い時間をかけてあらかじめ薄めておくことができる。それを許されないから突然の不幸は悲しいんだろうよ。
なるほどな。そりゃ病気にでもかかって何年も昏睡状態になってりゃ少しずつ心の整理もついてくだろうけど、ある日突然じゃその暇もねえもんな。
本来なら数年をかけて薄めるべき悲しみが一度に押し寄せる。そりゃ辛いわけさ。時には人の生涯に傷を残すほど深い悲しみを与えることもあるかもしれない。
生涯に傷を残すほどか。
じいさまのオカルト趣味もさ、
Another piece of music I really like listening to.
そう囁かれてたんだよな。例のベアトリーチェって愛人を大昔に亡くして、それが悲しくて悲しくて立ち直れなくて、それで死者を蘇らせるためのオカルトの研究に残りの人生を全て捧げるようになったのではないかって、そう囁かれてた。
だとしたらじいさまは最後の土壇場でその奇跡を成し遂げたな。犯人は蘇ったベアトリーチェで、じいさまは殺される瞬間に再会できたってことになるぜ。自分で蘇らせてそれに殺されるとは皮肉な話さ。
それでもおじいさまは会えたんだろうね。人生の半分を賭してもう一度会いたいと願った女性に。
Even though it's only for a short time, he was probably very happy.
わずかなひとときとはいえ再会できたんだろうね。
丸焼きにされちまったけどな。
Of course.
人生の半分をかけた研究にしてはちょいと割の合わない成果だろうぜ。
Definitely not. His actions were still very deplorable.
そんなことはないよ。たとえほんのひとときであったとしても、愛した女性に再会できたおじいさまは幸せだったはずさ。仮に生命の摂理に逆らった罪を神に咎められて、その身を焼かれ地獄に落とされたとしても、その見返りの再会がほんのわずかな時間だったとしてもね。
ジョージ兄さん、
神の怒りに触れてこの身を焼かれようとも構わない。わずかな時間でもいいからシャノンを再び蘇らせてくれるなら、僕は残りの人生すべてをおじいさまと同じ研究に捧げるよ。
I know the feeling.
5分でいいからシャノンともう一度言葉を交わしたい。1分でもいいから、それと引き換えに全ての人生を捧げても僕は構わない。
兄貴。
When Valor and Jessica realized that their pointless discussion was giving George painful feelings, they could do nothing more than shut their mouths. George directed his thoughts at Kinzo's life. He had sacrificed half of his life to research that no one could understand, and on the last day of his life, he had revived the person he loved most, and probably succeeded in his reunion in his final moments. George didn't know how much time they had spent together. He didn't know whether they had been given an hour or just 5 minutes. However, in that moment, all that time he had sacrificed for his research should have been rewarded. Even though he spent dozens of years to gain it, that small amount of time was probably enough to reward him. Until today, I never believed in the occult or magic or anything. Somewhere in my heart, I even made fun of grandfather's research as nothing more than a pastime. However, I won't make fun of it anymore. No. To the contrary, I strongly believe that it does exist. If the power of belief can become miracles, I'll probably throw away all of my studies up until today, and spend the rest of my life from today onward studying magic. Give me the power of magic, and a miracle which lets me meet Shannon again.
ごめんよみんな。僕もどうかしてる。魔法で死者が蘇るくらいだったら、世界中の人々が魔法を学ぶだろうね。でも、現実にはそんなことはない。誰も学ばない。死者が魔法では蘇らないって知っているから。ごめんよ、妙なことを言い出して。僕のせいでおかしな空気になっちゃったね。みんなだって辛いだろうに。気を使わせてごめん。
Don't worry about it, man. Even though I did it to divert myself from my sadness, maybe I did say something strange. If I keep talking about something so weird, I'm sure it won't heal their sadness. But just because of that, it doesn't mean that I can withstand the silence.
僕は下に行ってもう一杯コーヒーをもらってくる。
No! I refuse. No, you are not.
うちの母さん、コーヒーの入れ方にはこだわりがあるんだよ。
Stay in your room.
みんなもおかわりはいるかい？
Bather-kun and Jessica lightly shook their heads. Without being any more persistent than that, I took my mug and left the room. Oh, now we're in George's perspective? Because the shutters were all closed in the hallway, the corridor is very dim. I tried visiting Dr. Nanjo's room and asking whether he needed more coffee, but he said that he didn't need any more either. It seemed as though my mother's orthodox method of making coffee wasn't universally appreciated. One time I had Shannon drink it, but she told me that while it was delicious, it was a little strong.
Shannon.
That's no good. Even though I left the room to change my mood, that image of Shannon's face that's filling my head hasn't faded in the slightest. The fun days with her are repeating vividly, and it's saddening that I haven't been able to see her dead face. According to our parents, it seems as though she was killed with something like a gun or a spear. I'm sure they were just trying to console me, but they had said that her dead face had been very beautiful and peaceful. I wonder if she put the engagement ring I gave her last night on her finger. If she had accepted my engagement, she should have put on the ring finger on her left hand. Last night, we were both on the edge of losing it, and not calm at all. Shannon had accepted the engagement courageously, but she might have regretted that as a rash action once she cooled her head. She might have taken the ring off. I wonder if she has the ring now. I at least want to be sure of that much. I want to know her final feelings. However, even if I do check that, she won't be revived. I wonder what will happen to her body. After the autopsy, it'll probably be immediately cremated. Then I'll never be able to see her face, even her dead face, for all eternity.
僕はシャノンを失ったショックで少しおかしくなってるのかな。
I don't want to burn Shannon's body. If she is burned, she'll turn to ash, and never again will it be possible for her to revive. They say that cremation is disliked in Western tradition, because on the day of resurrection there would be no body to revive. Because of that, it seems that great criminals in Western history were often cremated after execution as a punishment, and their ashes were sometimes scattered in rivers and such. In other words, to Western people, death is nothing more than a sleep until the resurrection. It is essential that the corpse is left after death.
つまりそれは西洋人は死者が蘇る奇跡の存在を知っていたからなんだ。でも日本にはその奇跡がなかったから焼いてしまうんだ。
Now I understand. I understand why grandfather idolized the Western occult. From the beginning, it had been only for that reason. Just to revive the person dear to him, Grandfather spent the rest of his remaining life researching the Western occult. Now, the situation surrounding us is abnormal. Grandfather revived his beloved Beatrice, and that Beatrice has carried out a terrible serial murder, with linked closed rooms which forced it to think that magic had been used. The Golden Witch Beatrice, the incarnation of the miracle of the Western occult, and also the culprit who killed Shannon. I should hate that being, and yet, for some reason, I want to cling to her. I wonder if Shannon could be revived with the magic of miracles which Grandfather bet his life on. According to the legend of the Ushidamiya family, Grandfather met with her long ago and was given a vast quantity of gold. Then if I also met her, instead of gold, would she give me Shannon's life? As collateral, she could impose any kind of devil's contract. For that, I could sacrifice all of my remaining life. To George. George probably couldn't believe or notice that his voiceless wish was heard by the witch herself standing right behind him. Beatrice had been listening to the children's discussion just now in the cousin's room the whole time. Balor had told her that she didn't know the value of a human's life, and wanting to understand that in her own way, she had stealthily visited and listened to their discussion.
それが願いだというのか。それを叶えれば、わらわは魔女だと認められるのか。
Beato looked at the palms of both of her hands. She had handed over most of her previously surging magic power when the new witch had succeeded the name of Endless Witch. Of course, her current magic power still made her worthy of being called a witch, but it did not even compare to her previous strength.
無限の魔法などなくとも、わらわは千年に名を轟かす大魔女であるぞ。死者を蘇らすなど、造作もないことよ。
Inside her head, she thought about several magical steps she could take to revive the dead. Even magic that should have been easy in the past would be difficult with her current magic power. She thought of something, then clicked her tongue and repeated this several times. In the end, she finally thought of a single magic. But that was a magic that she couldn't use by herself. It was a magic that witches with weak power used, that relied on the aid of others. In the past, Beato had looked down upon that type of magic. Therefore, she frantically tried to think if there wasn't any other possible magic. But in the end, she couldn't think of one, and slumped over in self-derision. And then, careful not to surprise him, she softly called out. Softly, to George's heart. What are you going to do?
後宮ジョージ、わらわの声が聞こえるか。
聞こえるとも。あなたは誰だい？本当に魔女のベアトリーチェ、それとも僕の悲しみが生んだ幻想なのか。もしも前者だったなら僕の願いを聞いてほしい。そして後者なら僕をそっとしておいてほしい。
Their conversation in a mental world was a lot like having one in a dream. When you dream, haven't you ever had the experience of casually accepting something that should have been absurd in the real world? The conversation in this world was like that. So even though a witch appeared and started talking to George, he was not surprised.
わらわが黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。本来わらわとそなた、こうして会話を交わすことなどできぬ。しかしそなたがわらわのことを強く意識し会話を望むから、こうして互いのチャンネルを合わせることができる。
シャノを殺したのはあなたなのか。あなたを名乗る何者かの仕業なのか。僕はただあなたが本当の魔女として存在しているならば、どんな対価にも応じる。僕の命を望むなら今すぐに捧げてもいい。どうかシャノンを生き返らせてほしい。それが無理ならせめて わずかの間話をさせてくれるだけでもいい。お願いだ。
対価はいらない。その願い叶えて使わせる。
本当にシャノンを。
反言の魔法を扱うには今のわらわには魔力が足りぬ。だからそなたの手を借りねばならぬ。
Oh?
僕にできることならどんなことでも。それが僕の心臓を今すぐこの場で取り出すことであったとしても、僕は躊躇しない。
そんなものいらぬというの。わらわは魔法を唱え、さすれば冥府の扉に隙間ができよう。
What?
だが今のわらわにはその隙間よりシャノンの魂を連れ出せるほどの力はない。しかしシャノンのことを強く思うそなたなら、その思いを魔力に変えて彼女の魂を必ずや連れ戻せるだろう。
I'm really begging that nothing bad happens from this.
どうだ、わらわを手伝う。
手伝うとも。シャノンの命が蘇るなら僕は何を失うことも恐れない。
George's fists shook in silence. Then he slowly regained consciousness. He had been absent-mindedly standing near the window in the hall the whole time, his mug still in his hand. And the witch from his dream was still there.
そんな夢じゃない。
静かにせよ。今のわらわはとても脆い。この上さらに他の人間まで現れたら姿を保ちきれぬ。そなたの願いは叶えるから今は沈黙せよ。よい。
George covered his mouth with both hands, forcefully nodding several times. In that instant, it looked as though the mug he was holding was about to fall. George frantically jiggled it around and caught it. Or juggled it around, sorry. He was afraid that if it fell to the floor and made a loud sound, the witch's form might disappear like a bubble while popping. He softly set the mug on the floor and stared at the witch in front of him again. Her form didn't disappear. It wasn't a dream.
さあ、シャノンが眠る客室へ行くぞ。そなたの思いの力に彼女の魂を連れ戻すんだ。
行くってどうやって？下には母さんたちがいる。表へ出るのを許してくれるわけがない。それにあなたはさっき他の人間が現れたら姿を保てないと言わなかったかい？
そういえばそうだ。下にはクラウスたちがおったか。それでは確かに下へ降りられぬな。ならば1階へ降りずに屋敷へ行けばいいではないか。
How would we do that?
簡単な話よ。
How? Beato laughed as though she had thought of a pleasant prank. And with her golden pipe, she lightly tapped a window with its shutter closed. When she did, 3 gold butterflies appeared from the pipe and opened the lock on the window as though melting it. Then the window opened without a sound. The shutter beyond it was exactly the same. The clasp unset itself, also without making a sound, and it quietly opened. The window opened, exposing the wind and rain outside the mansion. Perhaps because of the direction or something related to the construction of the building, the wind did not blow inside. Because of that, for a while, George felt as though the entrance opening to the outside was a dream or illusion, and he couldn't accept it as real.
さあ行くぞ。ついてまいる。
Beato gently floated upwards. It was a natural action, like that of a diver enjoying an underwater stroll. It made it easy to believe that if you acted like she did, you too might be able to float in the sky just as though you were swimming in the water. No, George did believe that. So without thinking, just as she had done, he also gently, as though swimming in the water, his feet. What is he doing?
やるではないか。わらわが説明するよりも早く空を舞うことを覚えた。
George was shocked to find himself floating in midair like he was swimming. Of course, Beato was also shocked that George, who shouldn't have been able to use magic, had learned how to do that just by instinct.
空が飛べるなんて泳げるなんて
How is he?
理屈を考えてはならぬ。
Except it is a natural thing.
ニュートンとかアインシュタインとか人間たちの競技を思い出してはならぬぞ。特に高き空を飛んでいる時、墜落する未熟な魔女の時に。
あるがままを受け入れる。あるがままを受け入れる。
George repeated those words over and over. He must not deny magic no matter what. Denying that would be like throwing away what might be his first and last chance to revive Shannon. However, compared to Beato, who was elegantly drifting like smoke, George's movements were clearly similar to someone underwater. Therefore, if he didn't act like he was kicking his feet in water every once in a while, he would be caught by the force of gravity bit by bit.
わらわが初めて空を舞った時よりは上出来である。ついてまいる。
When Beato beckoned to George, she gently flew into the stormy sky. It was just like a scene from a fairy tale. The scene unfolding before George's eyes felt entirely like an extension of his dream.
空を飛べるのはすごいけど、すごい風と雨だ。
なんだ、雨と風に苛まれるのか。それを防ぐ魔法を教えてもよいが、今のそなたには早いし、今はそれを習う時間を割くのも惜しかろう。
So with this, suddenly, George is compatible to use magic?
ええ。
What?
僕が必要としている魔法はそれじゃない。
Without losing to the wind and rain, George wore a strong-willed gaze.
見えてきたぞ、屋敷だ。もう少し頑張れよ。今落ちればバラの茂みだぞ。
The undulating rose garden was spread beneath the witch and George's gaze. This illusion-like scene no longer surprised George. Only the gradually approaching mansion was reflected in his eyes.
シャン、待ってて。必ず君を蘇らせてみせる。
Oh no, no. At that time, the cruel new witch could be seen staring at the guest house from a different location.
あと残すは第7第8の番だけね。
Oh god, no.
あと2人で先代のババアの義理はおしまいだわ。クラウスとナツヒを殺す。夫婦仲良くね。にひ、標的はどうかに？ゲストハウス1階ロビーにて標的2名と後ろ宮エヴァを捕捉。反魔法力測定。
Oh no.
410へデータリンク。410データ受領。反魔法力は極めて小。エマさえ席を外せばまな板の上のマグロにアワビです。いかがしますか、大ベアトリーチェ卿。ご命令をいただければすぐにも狙撃いたします。どうかご命令を。ほんとにあんたたちは便利な家具ね。死体を恥じるしか能のない中古家具どもとは大違いだわ。ねえ、
Stop making me feel bad for the 7 stakes of... Oh my god, I feel terrible now. God.
シエスタ姉妹、またあなたたちの手際を見せてちょうだい。攻撃準備よ。死体をまた運び出してね。
What?
たっぷり遊んであげるんだから。文句はなしよ、ロノウェイ。
はい、かしこまりました。
At that time, the witch noticed something, as though some presence had disappeared. Was it her imagination?
今、何か気配を感じなかった？誰か感じた人いる？申し訳ありません。私は何も気づきませんでした。お許しを。私たちゲストハウスを観測中でしたから、周辺監視はオフにしてます。にひ。ルシファーちゃんは何か気配感じた？
For just an instant, Lucifer sent a glance at Ronove, asking whether she should answer honestly or not. Ronove gave a small nod in response.
いいえ、申し訳ございません、ベアトリーチェ様。私たちは何も。中華家具ゆえ、愚鈍なことをお許しください。
Wait, they know? Wait. They actually did feel it, didn't they?
So? 大悪魔のあなたがそう言うなら、きっと私の気のせいなんでしょうね。
The witch persistently stared in the direction the presence had disappeared to. That was the direction of the rose garden, and beyond that she could see the mansion's dark silhouette created by lightning. It took her quite some time before she pushed her unsatisfied feelings aside, and once again faced the guest house. Oh. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, we're still going, of course, but would this, in effect, ruin the ceremony in some way? Technically, it would, right? Because if one of the sacrifices just suddenly was revived, that would completely disrupt the ceremony. What would happen then if the witch cannot carry out the ceremony? Okay. The guest house lobby was wrapped in silence. The strings of tension which bound Krauss, Natsuhi, and Eva had already loosened. They were completely tired and their consciousness was beginning to waver. Every once in a while, they would stand up and walk around pointlessly as though fighting their drowsiness.
大丈夫ですか、エヴァさん。やはり無理をせず休んでいてください。
大丈夫だって言ってるわ。もう大人は私たち3人しかいないのよ。休んでる暇なんかないわ。石にかじりついてでもここを死守するわよ。
She spoke a brave line, but she couldn't hide her rough breathing. It seemed that the fever, which had been calmed with medicine for a time, had returned. It was very obvious that Ava's health was not good.
無理はするな。せめて目を閉じていたまえ。もし起こさねばならぬ時は必ず起こしてやるから。
だから平気だって言ってるわ。放っておいて。
It seemed that she had already become obstinate. Krauss and Natsuhi realized that even if they talked to her anymore when she was like this, it wouldn't reach her ears. So without saying anything more, they decided to let her be. To Ava right now, even an argument like that became a burden. It would probably be better if she just sat there with her mouth closed. Actually, Ava was already being beaten down by drowsiness. She might have talked back with a temper because she was trying to encourage herself and throw off her sleepiness. The clock would be pointing to 6 in the afternoon very soon. Because she had been snacking over and over again to fool her drowsiness, she didn't feel hungry. Instead, her lack of sleep made it feel like It was 6 in the morning, not the afternoon. Even if they supposed that the bout came at precisely 9 in the morning tomorrow, there was still more than 12 full hours to go. That was an overwhelmingly long stretch of time. Yeah. Long, painful, hot. Even the sound of the clock torments my body now. In times like this, when that person puts his hand on my forehead, the fever fades at once. But that person no longer exists. As Ava's mind grew foggy, she was once again gripped by a deep sadness. She had already cried herself dry. Even so, the sadness from losing her beloved husband had not been exhausted.
私は間違っていたんだわ。
Psycho bitch. From the start, the new witch had been the same being as Ava. If Ava talked to her, she would always
私
respond.
は後宮家の当主の座さえ得られれば、それで満足のはずだった。それが、あの黄金の山を見た途端に欲が増えたの。あの黄金の山を独り占めしたい気持ちに駆られた。
それは恥じることでも何でもないわ。だって後宮家の当主として当然の権利じゃない。他の誰にも黄金のひとかけらだって譲るものかってのよ。
私がその誘惑にとらわれたから、あなたが生まれてしまったんだわ。あなたは私の少女時代の心であると同時に、自分勝手でしかない私のよこしまな心でもあった。
Alright, there's a good explanation of what this bitch is.
そのあなたがあの黄金の山によって芽生えた私の愚かな欲望のせいで、私の胸という卵の殻を破り、この世に生まれ出てしまった。あなたを産んだのは私の責任。
なら私が殺したローザとマリアも、そしてルドルフとキリエと秀吉もあなたの責任ってことになるわ。
どうしてうちの人まで殺したのよ。どうして
秀吉を殺す気はなかったわ。だってうるさくてしつこかったんだもの。その意味では私たちの、いえ、あなたの責任ね。あんなのを旦那に選んだあなたの責任だわ。
Don't you freaking insult him.
あなたみたいな子供にあの人の良さはわからないわよ。あなた。
何よ。私たちは魔法で夢を叶えたのよ。碑文の謎を解いたわ。そして黄金を見つけ、当主の指輪を手にしたわ。すべての夢を叶えきったわ。それがなんで不満なの？
You still don't get it.
それだけが全ての夢なんかじゃないわ。あの人と素敵な人生を歩んで、ジョージに素晴らしい人生を託す。妻として、母として。私にはまだ叶えなければならない夢がたくさんあるのよ。それなのに、
それはあなたが大人になってから勝手に増やした夢だわ。私たちの夢じゃない。
だからあなたは子供なのよ。自分さえ良ければいいの？そうよ。全て私が悪いのよ。あの時ローザの言うことにどうして私は反抗したの？どうして兄弟みんなに黄金を見つけたと発表できなかったの？全て私が醜いから。黄金を独り占めしたくて芽生えさせたよこしまな心があなたを孵化させてしまった。
ひどい嫌われようだわ。
Who wouldn't hate you?
私たちは二人で後ろ宮エヴァなのに。
いいえ、もう違うわ。そしてそれはあなたが言ったのよ。
Yeah.
私は後ろ宮エヴァ。そしてあなたは黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。だからもう消えて。魔女なんておとぎ話の中にしか存在できない妄想よ、幻想よ。あなたなんか消えてしまえ。二度と私の前に現れないで。
ああ、そう。わかったわ。あなたの前から消えてあげるわ。そして私はもう後ろ宮エヴァじゃない。これからは黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェよ。もう好き勝手に遊んでやるんだから。あんたなんて知らないわ。へそでも噛んで勝手に死んじゃえば。
Why don't you just give up and die? After having a very childlike tantrum, the witch who had once been another Ava hid herself. Only Ava was left behind in the darkness, and she questioned herself.
私が彼らを殺した。あの人を殺してしまったの。私が殺してしまったの。
Personally, Ava, I don't think it was. In a sense, it wasn't you. I mean, hell, if this thing told me anything, it showed just how dedicated you are to your family. Okay? She could no longer answer that question herself. So, I know you would never want that. Are you okay? It seemed that half asleep, she had gotten some saliva caught in her windpipe just as she was dozing off. Ava suddenly started coughing.
大丈夫か、エヴァ。
Oh, to be honest, I've had that happen to me a couple times, so yeah.
夏希、水を頼む。
はい。大丈夫だってば。むせちゃっただけなんだから。
Ava pushed away Natsuhi's hand as she tried to rub her back and unsteadily rose to her feet.
顔を洗ってくるわ。
Oh no. No, Ava. They always... No! You're following the cliches! You have to stay together!
ごめんなさいね。寝ちゃってたわ。戻ってきたらまたコーヒーを入れるわね。特に濃い。明日の朝まで眠気が来なくなるようなやつを。
Oh no.
頼む。ゴーダの入れるコーヒーよりお前が入れるコーヒーの方が私の好みに合うからな。
お世辞でも嬉しいわ。すぐ戻るわ。
Why don't you guys just go together? Ava exited the lobby, heading for the laboratory. Krauss and Natsuhi watched over her frail back.
あなたもあれだけ犬猿の中だったエヴァさんに気を使うこともあるのですね。
本来兄とはこういうものではないのか
ええ、それで正しいと思います。
エヴァに限らん。
Huh?
ルドルフにもローザにも。私がした兄らしいことといえば、それを王兵に語り、彼らをいじめただけだ。
Oh god, don't make me like Krauss now, really?
父のようになりたくて、私なりに必死だった。
Damn it!
だが、いつもそれは及ばず、そのはけ口を彼らに向けてしまった。しかし、それは言い訳にならん。エヴァにまだ傷が癒えぬほどに深い心の傷を負わせてしまっただろう。
Oh yeah, you certainly did.
悔いているが、今さらそれを詫びたところで、その傷が癒えるわけもない。
その気持ちはきっと他の兄弟たちにも伝わりますよ。
今となっては他の兄弟もエヴァを残すのみだがね。
もしあなたとあなたのご兄弟が生まれた家が後宮家でさえなかったなら、もっともっと普通な楽しい兄弟の関係であったでしょうね。
それを言ってはならん。エヴァは生涯私を憎み続けるだろう。そしてその資格がある。私はそれを甘んじて受け止めるつもりだ。
Krauss.
あなた。
God damn it! Stop making. Just then I thought a freaking one-dimension. No, he's a. God damn it!
エヴァ、すまん。もちろん許さなくていい。
もちろん許さないわ。何を今さら。
Oh no.
悪いと思ったなら今すぐへそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。やっちゃえシエスタ島。45射撃許可受領。
There it is again.
射撃曲線再確認。飛行誤差修正。410データリンク。410データ受領。射撃許可確認。
God damn it! Now I just leave me.
射撃。
Umineko, you make me simultaneously fall in love with you and hate you at the same time. Simultaneously at the same time. Yes, I said that. Together, the sisters released the readied magical bowstring. A beautiful tail trailed the gold arrow, and it drew a beautiful curve as it flew, just like a gold snake. It skillfully avoided a grove of trees and flew towards the front door of the guest house. Then it flew into the keyhole of the door and snuck into the guest house without any problem at all. The gold snake raced down the hall smoothly, yet as fast as an arrow. Right before it was the door to the lobby. When it flew into the keyhole, Krauss and Natsuhi were already in. For an instant, Krauss thought he saw a gold-colored sparkle in the keyhole on the door. However, at the same time, he strained his eyes to see what it was. That sparkle bent like a whip and attacked, wrapping itself around Krauss's neck. Just looking at it, the gold snake looked very supple. However, it was as though a wire had tightened around Krauss's neck. And while that snake choked Krauss, it extended even more and also tightened around Natsuhi's neck. Without even the chance to scream, their eyes bulged as they went into convulsions and then collapsed.
45命中および死亡確認。
God damn it.
牽引曲線形成。補正点修正。410データリンク。410データ受領。死体牽引開始。2匹も釣れた2匹。
The gold snake began to drag Krauss and Natsuhi's bodies back. They slipped through the door to the corridor, dragging the bodies gradually increasing in speed, and rapidly pulled them outside the guest house. So the lobby was still as though nothing had happened, as though Krauss and Natsuhi had not been there since the beginning. Only the sound of the wind and the rain remained, as though feigning ignorance and pretending that they were the only ones there.
ごめんなさい。もう大丈夫よ。今コーヒーを入れるわね。
Ava returned from the lavatory, but no one was in the lobby. Even though they had supposedly been in that sofa until the moment she had choked and gone to the lavatory, they had gone as if they had been an illusion from the beginning.
不用心ね。二人揃ってどこに行っちゃったの？
Like she was pretending to be in a detective novel, Ava put her hand on the sofa. She felt a warmth which meant that they had been sitting there until a short while ago. Maybe they had gone to do the rounds or something? For the time being, Ava sat down and waited for their return. God. Beato and George could be seen in the parlor of the mansion. George was kneeling near Shannon's body as though praying. His face was serious and there was even sweat on his forehead. However, Beato was the same. Now that she had handed her name over, most of her previous power had been lost. Of course, she still had more than enough power to be called a witch, but compared to the past, it was a very faint thing.
いいぞ。声をかけるの。手で心の声で呼べよ。心の手で求め。そなたの強き思いだけに、シャノンの失われた魂、わらわの魔法を届かせる。
George kept praying earnestly and silently. He kept frantically yelling inside his heart, trying to call back the soul of the person he loved. He strongly envisioned his soul leaving his body and searching for her as she wandered through hell. Beato turned that strong force into magical power, supplementing her own magic. It was magic that, in the past, she could have performed easily without anyone's help. But now, if she didn't rely on someone's help, she wouldn't be able to finish the chant, much less succeed.
忘れておったわ。魔法と反言とこんなにも辛い魔法であったか。
An even more strained expression rose to Beato's face than George's. It had slipped her mind, but originally, the magic to revive a life was the ultimate hidden art. It was her previous magical power that could be used over and over with a snap of her fingers that was abnormal. Therefore, the heavy burden to her body and mind was fundamentally extremely fitting.
しかし、こやつの力、魔法を知らぬとはかなり。さすがは金蔵の孫といったところ。
The strong power pouring from George was large enough to act as magical power. At first, Beato thought it was due to the blood of the magician Kinzo. However, that was probably wrong. She had a feeling that Battler had taught her that. It had been born from the power of George's sadness, at the death of the person he loved, and from the way he had tried his hardest throughout his life. From the warm time spent together with Shannon, and the size of the dream they swore to protect in the future. Are humans able to live this seriously during only one single life? Of course they could. To her, a life didn't mean anything more than the difference between the top and bottom of an Othello piece. If the black represented death, then she thought all you had to do was flip it over again and make it white. However, it was just like that broken vase. To humans in a world without magic, where they cannot return it to its original form, it is very, very natural for them to bet their life and soul.
死の山さえ越えられぬ有限の人間が劣ることもあるというのか。
This time, the witch acknowledged it. He was able to hold a magical power that could not reside in witches who didn't understand the value of life. Why does this thing called the Endless Magic exist? Even though I called myself the Endless Witch, did I forget what the Endless Magic means for 1,000 years? She looked at George's expression again. His surging earnestness was like a lightning bolt. Right now, even if George's body was burned or smashed by a waterfall, he would probably continue to pray for his beloved without minding it, without noticing it. For the first time, she showed respect for that power. So in that instant, all magical resistance was lost, and the enormous power of George's feelings turned into magical power in its perfect form. The vase was very beautiful, rich with history and value. Even as young as I was, it still forced me to take a deep breath when I witnessed its beauty. But that just made me want to touch it. But the vase easily fell and smashed into pieces, like it was a bubble that had popped. It felt as though the time when it had possessed a form was just an illusion. Lives are that fragile, that easily lost. I realized that my foolish curiosity had caused something that couldn't be taken back. No matter how much I regretted it, no matter how much I apologized, the smashed vase wouldn't return back to its original form. A lost life will not return to normal no matter what happens. I was frightened that even though my careless actions had been thoughtless, they had stolen a life that would never be revived again. Then, I pitied the lost life and cried. I was frightened of myself, who had made it become lost, and cried even more. I'm sure that grandfather also cried at the loss of his precious vase. I'm sure that all the people who valued grandfather and saw him like that cried. By just the loss of a single life, the whole world would be filled with so much sadness. I cried even more at how terrible that would be. Beatrice appeared and spoke.
ならばお嬢様、この壺を魔法で蘇らせましょう。それで皆が幸せになれるなら、壺も魔法も精霊たちも、喜んでそのために力を貸し、元の姿を取り戻すでしょう。さあさあ、お嬢様、目を閉じて、私と一緒にお歌を歌いましょう。
さあさあ、目を閉じてごらんなさい。そして思い出してごらんなさい。あなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。それはきっと、とてもとても美しい姿。どうか私に、あの姿をもう一度見せておくれ。
Beatrice. Those words of power forcefully knocked on the door to Hades. Her previous magic forcefully knocked on the door to Hades in the same way. However, that way was horribly violent and earned the displeasure of the peacefully sleeping dead. However, this time was different. It was very forceful, but it was a very gentle and loving. The dead near the door opened their eyes and called out to the other dead that there was a voice calling for someone to come back. The sadness of that voice calling from the outside touched the hearts of the dead, and trying to respond as quickly as possible, they searched for Shannon's lost soul. And then, they found it. They found the casket in which Shannon was peacefully sleeping. It truly was Shannon's soul sleeping in the land of the dead. Inside the casket that was covered with rose flowers frozen with frost, she was sleeping in peace. The dead silently lifted that casket up. While at a glance it looked like a funeral march, it had the complete opposite meaning. It was solemn, but filled with joy. The long-forgotten dead were made to remember that they were loved after their deaths, and they were all given a warm sense of peace. Then, as though guided by a warm light from the heavens, Shannon's body floated out of the casket. The dead watched her go. They squinted at that warm light, giving their respect to this unknown member of the living who would continue to hold on to his love for a person even after death. Shannon's body was sucked into the light in the heavens and began to disappear. In the jet-black darkness of the land of the dead, the faint flickering of gold butterflies could be seen. It reminded them of the gentle stars in the night sky, which they had long forgotten. George remembered being told that he must not say anything, and he hurriedly covered his mouth. However, it felt like his heart was trying to jump into his throat, because he had seen Shannon's eyelids shake slightly. Then, those eyelids slowly opened. Shannon's eyes were there, but they were still wrapped in the fog of the land of the dead. However, the human worlds, no. The lover's warmth which had called her soul back slowly dissolved that fog, and her eyes gradually regained their sparkle. Then, her eyes moved and recognized George. As her lips shook weakly, Shannon definitely said that. The words were very faint, so much so that they normally wouldn't have reached his ears. However, George clearly heard them. He had heard the person of his thoughts, his fiancée, the one he loved most who should have been dead, call his name once again.
シャノ、僕がわかるかい？
ジョージさん、これは夢なの？
いや、これは夢じゃないよ。だからほら、つむっても覚めないよ。
As George said that, he softly pinched Shannon's cheek. It was how George had always responded in the past, when Shannon had been surprised by something and had asked if she was dreaming. When Shannon felt the warm touch of George's finger on her cheek, and when George realized that the warmth of a living person had already returned to his beloved person's cheek, they both cried. What words should a pair of lovers separated by death celebrate with when they are reunited? The words of the human world are not enough to celebrate that. In short, they had no need of the words of this world. George simply hugged Shannon, who was sitting up without talking. Shannon's strength was still feeble, and putting her arms around George's back took all she had, so George hugged her tightly to make up for that. To stop each other from going once more to a place the other's hands couldn't reach, they hugged each other very tightly, and yet very gently. On Shannon's finger, which curled around George's back, on her ring finger, the engagement ring George had given her definitely shone. That strong sparkle definitely wasn't the only sparkle of diamond. There definitely was a magical power that only the two lovers could possibly feel. It was because that strong light existed that they had been able to find her casket in the land of the dead. Beato understood. That ring, no. The feelings of the pair, embodied in that ring, were a miracle made real. In that moment, George had definitely used magic. Beato had done nothing more than help him along. That magic had a magical power that could only reside in those who knew of the importance of life and trying their hardest. It was the power of a miracle which the Endless Witch could not know, and that only limited power could give rise to. By now, she had no choice but to accept it. She had to accept that true magic, true magical power, exists in the place farthest away from she who called herself a great witch.
Beatrice 様。
彼女が君を生き返らせてくれたんだ。ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。
いいえ、わらわは何もできなかった。シャノンをよみがえらせた。そなたの魔力、そなたの魔、奇跡を成し遂げる後ろの道、確かに見届けさせてもらったぞ。
ジョージさんが私を？
うん。わらわなど足元にも及ばぬほどの凄まじき魔力であったぞ。わらわなどはまだまだ見習いの域を出ぬか。今こそ身の程を知ろうぞ。
Beato staggered backwards. Her physical strength was clearly exhausted. She had humbly said that George's power alone had revived Shannon, but Beato had also used up all of her magical and physical strength. And she reflected upon how difficult it was to revive a single life, which she had been able to play with however she wanted in the past. The couple kept on embracing each other tightly. By doing that, their feelings that couldn't be communicated with a billion words were communicated.
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。君は僕たちの恩人だ。
ありがとうございます、ベアトリーチェ様。再びジョージ様に会わせてくださったこのご恩を決して忘れません。
よせよせ。愛し合う二人に感謝されては外道の極みと恐れられたわらわにはくすぐったすぎるというものよ。 わらわのことは気にするな。存分に再会を祝い合え。
Beato, who was leaning on her back against the wall, slid down the wall, still on her back, and sat. How many centuries had it been since she had last grown this tired from using magic? I probably haven't been this tired since the time I first succeeded in magic. Didn't teacher praise me that time? Oh, but didn't I kill that teacher who praised me myself? Don't be naive, Beatrice. In the end, killing something isn't like that, right?
ようやく魔法の使い方を思い出したようですね。
頭ん中酸欠でカラッカラで思い出すもヘチマもねえぜ。それよりあんた殺したじゃねえかよ。現れるんじゃねえよ。
あなたが未だに私を生かしていますよ。だからこうして現れられます。もっともあなたの頭を撫でに来たわけでもありませんが。
無様なわらわをわざわざ嘲笑いに来たかよ。それに隠居までした魔女が今さら頭なんか撫でられちゃ他の魔女の笑い物だぜ。
そうですね。一人前どころか現役を退いたと豪語するあなたなのに、今頃になって魔法の使い方を覚えたなど恥ずかしくて誰にも言えませんね。
内緒にしてくれよ、お師匠様。
Beato gazed at the couple hugging each other with a sense of pleasant despondency. What? No. Please, no. Oh, the gold snake fired by the siestas. Weaved its way through the bushes in the rose garden, weaved its way through the hedge, and climbed down the stone steps towards the mansion's entrance, aiming for the keyhole. It weaved through the corridors, and flew into the keyhole on the door to the parlor. No! It had happened in an instant. It would have been difficult for Beato, who was completely worn out, to notice it beforehand. Right before Beato's eyes, the gold snake that flew into the keyhole surrounded the two lovers and pierced the two hearts in a blink of... Furthermore, the gold snake faithfully pierced the hole in Shannon's chest once more. The two hearts were pierced with the gold snake. No, but the gold sewing thread used by the new brutal witch's furniture. And in an instant so unfitting for the amount of effort it had taken to revive Shannon. In front of Beato's shocked eyes, the two fell over and landed on the floor. George spent his last breath thanking Beato and died side by side with the one he loved. The gold snake was still sewed up. The two in place spun like a large cyclone revolving around the inside of the parlor. It was searching for further prey in that room. Then the tip of the snake met Beato's gaze. In that instant, Beato was prepared to die. At that time, Virgilia stood in front of her, the fingers of both of her hands drawing a mark. In that instant, gold-colored gold leaf buried the inside of the parlor. It was like a blizzard of gold.
シエスタの黄金宮からは誰も逃れられない。
410標的疾患200魔法機回し45了解索敵変更対人画像追尾方式標的再補足410へデータリンク
What the actual shit?
410データ受領すっとろいに先代様来て来て来て着弾
Pray that the Siesta Sisters' golden bow aimed at did not escape. It could not be blocked. No magical barrier could even dream of blocking it without being multi-layered. The weak point during the instant of confusion caused by Vergilia's deception magic was Beato's only chance to escape, and it was the only chance to make the sisters confuse Vergilia for Beato. As Vergilia spread her arms wide, blocking the way to her beloved disciple, the gold snake pierced straight through her heart. The snake which had snuck in through the keyhole had shot through George and Shannon and had been shot through Vergilia in an instant, completely failed to notice as Beato escaped. As soon as Vergilia saw that Beato had gotten away, she expired. The strength left her body, and like gold dust drifting with the wind, her form was erased. Beato completely erased all traces of her magical power, became gold butterflies, and passed through the wall, escaping to the wind and rain outside. Beato felt regret from the bottom of her heart. Why? Because she had been attacked by the new witch? Probably not. Of course, losing her teacher was also regrettable, and even more, Beato was enraged at the barbarism which had bourgeously stolen the union between the two reunited lovers. Beato had poured out almost all of her magical power to reunite them. Even though the result had been a miracle, it had been such a short time before that gift had been stolen. Beato trembled at the barbarous cruelty which had ended it too fast, and it was also the true form of the actions she had committed up until that point. So just as strongly as Beato hated the new witch, she looked at her previous self with disgust. But now she had to escape. If she was targeted next, she would probably lose her life. It wasn't even funny that the chess player had descended like a god and had been attacked by the pieces.
45着弾確認標的資産間違いなく先代様を撃破しましたまた私たちの撃墜気象が増えちまうねにひ愛し合う二人なんで引き裂いて一度合わせて二度もう一度引き裂いて三度楽しめるだっけそのついでにあのクソうるさいババアまでさよならできて最高にご機嫌よ
ございませんベアトリーチェ様
あいつは魔女の碑文の儀式を妨害したのよ第一の番の生贄を勝手に蘇らせて私の儀式を妨害したわ文句言われる筋合いなんかなんにもないわよしかしずるいなあいつは死体を残さないのねあのババアの思いっきり何度も無限にいじめ殺して遊んでやろうと思ったのに
ジョージが来てないわよいつ降りたのよ
いつってあれは何時くらいだったっけ
確か4時か5時くらいだったかな最低でも1時間以上前だよ
俺たち
Not good.
眠くなってその後は多分居眠りしてたしでも多分ジェシカの言う通りだと思うぜ 1時間か2時間くらい前だった。
私もそのくらいの頃だと記憶しています。コーヒーのおかわりはいるかと聞かれましたから。
Something hard to believe had happened. Apparently when Aunt Ava had left for a second to wash her hands, Krauss, Oji-san, and Aunt Natsuhi had disappeared. There was no way they went hiding somewhere. Of course the doors and windows had all been rigorously checked, and all were locked from the inside. Not one of them was broken. And that wasn't just the first floor, the second floor was the same. Again, all of the doors and windows possessed locks which had been designed so that they couldn't be set from the outside. In other words, there was no way that Krauss, Oji-san, and Aunt Natsuhi had gone outside, and yet they couldn't be found. Furthermore, they weren't the only ones who disappeared. Even George Aniki had. George Aniki had left saying that he was going to get more coffee, and had gone downstairs more than an hour earlier. We had been under the impression that he was having a conversation with Aunt Ava and the rest, but Aunt Ava, who had been in the lobby the whole time, said that no one had come down. Since all the doors and windows were locked on the inside, it was unthinkable that they had gone outside. However, 3 humans had evaporated from this barricaded guest house, which had become a perfect closed room. In a situation like this, we couldn't imagine that this was because they were playing hide and seek or trying to scare us with a prank. It was probably appropriate to think that they had been caught up in this crime. When Aunt Ava had learned that her only son was missing, she had gone half insane, running from room to room, yelling his name loudly. And Jessica, who had suddenly lost both of her parents, had chased after her. Cries of George, George, and Mom and Dad continued to echo through the guest house for some time. I think George said something about wanting to see Shannon's dead face. It would be reasonable to imagine that he had snuck out of the guest house and gone to the mansion. However, I don't know about Krauss, Oji-san, and Aunt Natsuhi. Did they notice that and go to the mansion to search for him? Without even telling Aunt Ava? At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we start talking about leaving the guest house to search for them. When that time comes, I'll agree. Since shutting ourselves up inside the guest house should have been safe, we should have been a big, happy family of 12 people and stayed shut in since this morning. And yet now there were only 4 people here. In other words, it means that being here is not safe. However, before that, there was something that we must not forget. That was the fact that all of the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is a closed room. How had they hid themselves away from this place? We searched around thoroughly. However, we couldn't find any traces of someone hiding. The 3 of them had almost certainly been taken outside the guest house.
どうやってでしょう。まさか隠し扉とかがあるとか。
隠し扉？
扉も窓も外から閉めることは構造上不可能です。釣り糸の類を使ってもこの構造では無理でしょうな。となれば扉や窓以外から出たと考えるのが妥当でしょう。
確かに、そういう論法にもなるだろうよ。隠し扉が存在しないなんて断言は誰にもできない。しかしそういう発想に飛躍する前に俺はもっとシンプルな可能性も疑ってる。
What?
と申しますと？
For some time, Balor had been opening windows, opening the shutters and checking outside, and repeating this for each window.
この窓は静かだな。なるほど。この窓は他と違って建物の構造上風が吹き込まないわけか。
そのようですな。こんなにも外は風雨なのに雨も風も入ってこないとは不思議な気持ちです。
南條先生、今窓を開けた時音を感じたかい？
気にはなりませんでしたが、よく油が効いていると思います。
つまり誰も見ていない廊下の窓からひょろっと抜け出すことは可能なわけだ。しかもこの窓なら風も吹き込まないから風圧でカーテンや扉が音を立てることもない。静かなもんさ。
Balor leaned forward and looked at the ground below. He was searching for some sign that George had jumped down, but at a glance, he didn't see any mark like that on the grass in the middle of the pouring rain.
こういう窓が1階にもあるのかもしれない。誰にも気づかれずに表へ出ることは可能だぜ。
しかし扉はおろか、窓は全て施錠されて鎧戸まで閉まっていましたぞ。 げることは可能でも閉めることは不可能だ。
閉められるぜ。こうやってカチャンとな。
Balor closed the window and locked it, as though this was perfectly obvious.
まさかバトラさんは。
最後に中の人間が鍵を閉めればこんな密室は朝飯前だ。
しかしそれではそれでは。
Nanjo turned pale and shook his head several times, because the thing that Balor had said had hit him as a fact that was frightening even to imagine.
俺の想像したトリックならな。しかしこんなトリックを使えば怪しまれる人物は極めて限定される。
He didn't want to say it in front of Nanjo, but after eliminating Jessica, who had been with him the whole time, only Nanjo and Ava could have done it.
私はそんなことをしませんぞ。誓ってもいい。
となるとエヴァおばさんと南條先生のアリバイ合戦ってことになる。俺たちは二人とも怪しんでそれぞれを別々に監禁すればいいだけの話。逆に言えばこのトリックはもっと生存者が多ければ有効かもしれないが、これだけ人数が減った状況下では大して有効ではないんだ。
No. To the contrary, there would be a chance of having your own neck strangled. It should have been more expedient to make it look like the culprit was outside, and to intentionally leave a door unlocked or break a window.
もしこの失踪劇が今日の昼にでも起これば、俺は自信満々にこの説を発表しただろうよ。だが、この段階に至っては全然自信が持てないぜ。何なんだこいつは。一体何を意味してやがるんだ。この密室はよ。
やはりその。
なんだい南條先生。思いつきでもいいから言ってくれよ。
Because Nanjo looked like he was trying to swallow his words, even though it seemed like he had thought of something, I urged him on. After Dr. Nanjo refused several times, saying that it was just a foolish idea, he finally said it out loud.
イエス。やはりこれは本当に魔女の仕業ではないのかと。
バカバカしい。魔女なんているわけがねえぜ。
魔女は私たちに訴えたいのです。人間にはできないことをやってのけるからこそ自分を魔女だと認めさせたいに違いないのです。私はこのゲストハウス全体の密室からの失踪はそういう魔女からのメッセージだと感じています。考えてはならないのです。意味なんてきっとないのです。私は恐ろしい。
As Dr. Nanjo shook with fear, it looked like he was trying to erase the fearsome thoughts that he kept imagining one after another. When we went down the stairs, Aunt Ava and Jessica were enraged, and were each persistent in their desire to leave this place and search for their respective families. It was a desire that naturally hit those who could no longer see their family. Aunt Ava told Dr. Nanjo and me to stay here, but I shook my head and started walking.
もう引きこもりはたくさんだぜ。俺も外の空気を吸いたくなってきた。
ああ、行くならさっさと行こうぜ。もうこんなところに閉じこもってるのは真っ平さ。早く父さんや母さんやジョージ兄さんを探しに行こう。
The blood had all risen to Jessica's head. I hope it doesn't set off her asthma.
残りたい人は勝手に残ってればいいわ。とにかく私たちは表を探してくるわ。
南條先生はどうする？一人で留守番してるか？
いえ、私もご一緒させてください。
Rather than holding up alone in a guest house whose security was by no means guaranteed, it would be better to be in a danger zone as a group of 4 people. And Ava was holding a gun. Moving separately from her was almost like asking to be made into the next victim. In this way, the four of us decided to leave the guest house. Even though it should have been safe to barricade ourselves here, we did that, and then lost 8 people. It was almost as though it was a holding room so that the sacrifices could be killed one after the other. We removed the chain, unlocked the front door, and opened it. It was already pitch black. While there were some lights outside which dimly lit the pathway, they didn't have enough power to shine into the darkness that some suspicious person might be hiding in.
行くわよ。遅れても知らないんだからね。
Still holding her gun, and Ava dashed out without an umbrella. Jessica followed after her. After looking at each other, Dr. Nanjo and I chased after them. What in the world is happening in this mansion? On this island? I've just been shut up in the guest house with the rest of the cousins since yesterday, so I don't know anything about what's going on outside. Just what is happening that I don't know about? Outside this room, in the mansion, on this island? Everything is happening, everything is proceeding, and everything is ending without my knowing it. Somewhere in my heart, I have already begun to give up. Most likely, not one of us will see tomorrow morning. When the seagulls cry, nobody will be left alive. Just past 6. And that's where we're going to end it. The next episode won't really be the finale because we still have a tea party to go to. Well, we know how this is going to turn out next. With that starting, that's going to be a great place to start. Holy freaking shit. Okay. Holy crap, Beatrice. I'm honestly at a loss for words. So much happened in this. But I know she's killed people. I know she has. But right now, I really like Beatrice, or Beato right now. As for this psychotic little bitch, I got no liking of her whatsoever. And then these two, they're just doing their job. I still don't like them though. But damn. Oh my. Jeez. Oh my god. I'm gonna say it again. I really love Umineko, and I really hate it at the same time. Ugh. Well. Holy crap. I think I'm confident in saying that you guys watching and me, I think we can all agree on one thing. This bitch need to die. Or she needs to experience the shit that she's put other people through. I mean, okay, this is stupid of me to say because she's obviously done it, but she's obviously seeing the error of her ways. Or she's starting to understand a bit more. So, damn it. I know the next one's gonna be like one of you guys said, it's gonna be close to 3 hours. Hope you guys are gonna be in for a very long video whenever that finally gets done. Holy crap. I'm surprised I was able to get enough time to record this as is. Anyway. This is good. This was really freaking good. And this is, I'm going to say it again. I can see why you guys say that episode 3 is a personal favorite. Oh my god. And I'm excited. I'm going to hate myself, and I'm going to love it at the same time. There's still 5 more episodes, right? Like, there's 5 more episodes of this. Oh my god. And then there's in all honesty, I almost forgot about it, but there's also the fighting games that are based around these. I think a comment told me that series is called, Oh crap, what was it? Gold Fantasia, I think that's what it was. And I haven't looked into it, don't worry. I haven't even so much as touched. I haven't even looked it up since one of you guys say it'll be major spoilers. I'm not doing that. Nah. But I will say one thing. If I do a let's play of that game on this channel, you know what I'm gonna do? If I ever get it, if this bitch is a character, I'm going to enjoy pummeling her. Just friggin', I don't know. I imagine obviously Beatrice would be a playable character, but oh, good lord. Well, I think we know the next episode is going to be one hell of a ride. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.